We're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the After Buzz. Big thanks to producer Dave, who's sitting right over there. He's hooking up some cool stuff. Quick, show him the graphic. Show him the graphic. Show him the graphic. See, we're going to get to that here in just a moment. But yeah, so he's hooking us up. We got a lot of really cool stuff going on. Hopefully you guys are getting the notifications for this. It's one of the things that we're talking about right now is that the notifications aren't necessarily going through. So if you guys have clicked the notification button and you're not getting them, let us know because we got to figure out why that's not happening. But anyway, we got a few topics we'll talk about today. We are less than 2 weeks away now from Christmas, so we'll talk about some Christmas traditions. We'll talk about some comics because we got that big giveaway we're doing all week on the morning show of the Marvel Unlimited, which is a pretty sweet prize. Dave also ran into a Inconsiderate People this morning, so we'll talk about that. And then something that's also not in the title that it just kind of randomly popped into my head was that the wife and I are now fully invested in 90 Day Fiancé. So actually, no, let's start with that. Since it's not there in the title, we'll start with 90 Day Fiancé here real quick. So basically, we have Sling TV. We don't have Comcast, Time Warner, AT&T, whatever it is for your cable provider. We have AT&T for internet. And then as far as TV goes, we've got your Netflix, Hulu, and Sling TV, and Amazon Prime as well. But we have Sling TV for live television. And I don't think TLC was ever really available. And all of a sudden, as I was flipping through, it popped up. And they have, I think, this like whole season of 90 Day Fiancé on there. And my first introduction to 90 Day Fiancé was last year in October when we took a trip to Houston because the wife had a work seminar that she was doing out there. So I drove out there with her. Holy fuck, that's a long drive, driving from El Paso to Houston. And so we went out to Houston, and I would just kind of hang out in the hotel room, read comic books, and watch TV. It was a fantastic vacation. I loved it. And so I got roped into 90 Day Fiancé, and there's the one that roped me in was there's this chick in Brazil. Her name's Carini, and I can't remember the guy's name, but this dude is just weird. Like, he's got a criminal past where he did jail time for arson. He had a restraining order against his ex-girlfriend. When he went down to Brazil, so basically the whole 90 Day Fiancé thing, it's marrying somebody from outside of the United States to get him a green card in here. And like he was talking to this doctor, and then we're going to go swimming. And this doctor told him like there's all this stuff in the water that could potentially crawl into your orifices. So he puts on condoms when he goes swimming to protect his pee hole and stuff. And it's just awkward shit. And it gets to the point where they have Erica just wrote in the chat, the one who ran away. This is what hooked me on this damn thing is that this guy. At the time, he's having to type into his phone, and then it would translate it for her what he was saying. And he's kind of telling her about his criminal past and all the things that he's done and how he had a restraining order and he went to jail for arson and stuff like that. And while she's reading it, he just runs away. Like he literally just gets up and runs. And it's like a Forrest Gump run because he doesn't like specifically run around things. Like there's this huge hill in front of him. Rather than trying to run around it, he goes straight through it, up and over. And the camera guys all of a sudden were like, we don't know where he went. Like we lost the guy. Like he went up and over that hill. And then it's like in the movies, like in Forrest Gump, when all of a sudden it pans out, like he turns a corner. And then when it pans out, he's way further down the road than you'd think he would be. It was like that with this dude. Like he hit super speed when he got up over that hill and he was coming down. He was like the goddamn Flash. And then right after that, the chick gets mugged by a dude with a machete. And the producers who were filming it, they're like, what the hell is going on here? Which I think that was staged. I don't want to believe it is. I want to keep the faith alive that 90 Day Fiancé is not staged, but it's complete bullshit. So anyway, so we got roped into it, and we kind of been watching it this week. And then last night, there's a couple of stories we've been following. There's one where this guy goes to Colombia, and he finds this chick with just huge fake knockers. And I think he's only known her for a few weeks. They met online. He's going down there to meet her for the first time. And they've been teasing this over and over again about how she's not responding to his messages and, is she going to be there? So he goes to dinner and he's got like roses and stuff for him there. And as they're at the dinner, it was 7 o'clock, I think is when they were supposed to meet. Over 2 hours later, the chick is still not there. And he's like texting her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll be right there." She texts him at 7:30, and she's like, "I'll be right there." She doesn't show up until after 9 o'clock. And at that point, I'm like, "Dude, you should have fucking left, man. I give it like 15 minutes, and I'm out the fucking door. I'm not waiting around. If you can't tell me like, hey, I got delayed because of this, fucking gone." And so ultimately, like last night, I was starting to get tired. It was getting late, and I'm like, "All right, I gotta turn this off because we need to go to bed." And that one, they were teasing that one and the other one that I'm really interested in. And I'm like, well, fuck, I gotta stay up now. Like we can't go to bed now. They're about to finally show this. So they showed that one. So she finally shows up, and they're interviewing her, and the producers were, they asked her specifically, "Why were you so late?" And her response was, I'm really busy. I have a busy schedule. And it's like, dude, this guy flew out to Colombia, but it's his fault too. He's a sucker. He just wants the boobs is really all it is, because he's willing to wait for over 2 hours, and you can tell this thing's going to go crashing and burning. It's just going to erupt in flames. And then the other one was the guy who flies to the Philippines. 36 hours to fly to the Philippines. 5 flights total. Gets stuck in Bangkok. Oh, and so the chick that he's going to go meet, I guess the guy had an ex-girlfriend who lived in Bangkok, and the chick that he's going to go meet for the first time, that he's already confessed his love to, that he's going to go propose to, by the way, she's freaking out that he's stuck in Bangkok, and he's hooking up with his ex-girlfriend or something, like just really weird shit. But then again, the thing I gotta think about, these people are really fucking weird to begin with, because they're saying this is the love of my life, and they've never met them. Like, I don't think they understand how it works. There's this one chick, she was older, she's in her 50s, and there's this dude that she's going to marry in Nigeria who's in his 30s. She meets up with him, and you can tell he's trying to be a really nice guy, but he's like, she's a lot larger than what I expected. She looks a lot older than what I expected. He's like, I got to look on the bright side. She's very sweet. She's very nice. And she's trying to bone him the whole time. It's like her hands in his crotch and stuff. Like while they're sitting there talking, and she's like, "Oh, you shouldn't have your pants on." She's like, "Goes to take his pants off," and he's like running around the fucking room because she keeps trying to strip him down. And then when they're doing like a little side interview with just her, she's like, "I haven't been with a man in over a year. He's in trouble." And I was like, "Oh, it's fucking gross." But yeah, so like it's the craziest show on the planet, and it's so fucking addictive. And I've never really had guilty pleasures, because anything that I've genuinely enjoyed, I've never felt guilty watching it until now. This is a guilty pleasure, producer Dave. This is a guilty pleasure that I'm roped in. And like when Buzz was even talking about it, when his girlfriend got him hooked on the show, I'm like, it's a guilty pleasure, but we didn't have TLC at the time, and and now we do. In the chat right now, they're saying the show sounds insane. It is. You need to watch the show. It's nuts. It's bonkers, and it will keep. And the producers and the directors and the people who put the show together, they know how to keep you hook, line, and sinker, because they know the ones that you're going to be sticking around for. It's a perfect example of what happened last night. I was ready to go to bed, and then they kept teasing that one. I'm like, well, fuck, I got to see when the chick finally shows up. And then they showed the other one. I'm like, I got to see when he finally sees the chick. Like, I need to go to bed. Such a good show. Cobra Commander's asking, I thought Sling had a DVR system. They do have a recording system, like a DVR system for Sling TV. It's like a few bucks extra or something. I'm not exactly sure what it is. And I really haven't looked into what Sling provides now, because I've had Sling TV for a few years, at least since I've been here. So for Sling TV, I know they have a few different packages. There's one that you can buy everything. And then they also have like a Fox package. That one comes with FX, FXX, Fox Sports, and stuff like that. And then there's another one that's the ABC package. That comes with ABC, Disney Channel, and ESPN. So anything under that Disney umbrella. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to buy the whole damn thing at some point, because there's shows on, FX and FXX that I enjoy watching. But now that the UFC is jumping over to ESPN, because ESPN bought the rights to the UFC, I think that starts in just a few weeks here in 2019. I'm going to want that as well. So I may just have to pony up and buy them all. And Cobra Commander is saying that I should do a Mystery Science Theater 3000 of that show. I'd love to. The only problem is we can't broadcast it because YouTube won't allow us to do it. The reason they were able to do it on Mystery Science Theater 3000 is the movies that they were doing had no copyright. on them. Like they were in free domain, so they could show them and they could broadcast them and they could film their own show with those movies because the copyright had either ran out or there was no copyright on it, like Manos, Hands of Fate, filmed right here in El Paso. But yeah, so 90 Day Fiance, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's just a crazy ass show. And I mean, it's weird. Like right now, I just want to end the AfterBuzz to go watch more, but I can't because it's one of those shows that the wife and I are watching together, and it gives us a good chuckle. We have an absolute blast sitting there watching it. So anyway, so now we'll get to the topics that I actually wrote down and I prepped producer Dave for. That one I just sprung on him when we went live. But we got Christmas coming up in like a week and a half, and it's interesting to me the different traditions that people have. It's something that we've kind of talked about doing on the air is, are there any different Christmas traditions that it's an odd Christmas tradition. It's not a like an Orthodox Christmas tradition. Like there's certain things that everybody does, like the stockings. That's a tradition, but it's a tradition that pretty much everybody does. And I was trying to rack my brains, and there really wasn't anything specific for me personally, but growing up as a kid, it was the same thing every single Christmas. We would start out Christmas Eve. It was always my family, which was my mom, my dad, my sister, and myself. And we would go to, it was somebody's house. It was my dad's mom's extended family. And they are German Norwegian, but mostly heavily on the German side, or I'm sorry, on the Norwegian side, which is why they made like oyster stew and stuff. Do you know what oyster stew is, producer Dave? It's fucking gross. It's basically milk, butter, and oysters. Like that's it, and like some salt and pepper, and it's just it's gross. And then like there's sand in it still from the oysters. Like it's all no, it's a bowl of soup. Like it's an actual stew. Then there'd just be a big old pot on the stove for the oyster stew, and it was just this white liquid with oysters in it. Ugh. And I remember being a kid wanting so desperately to be like my dad and to be like the guys in the family, eat the oyster stew, but it was so fucking gross. Like I just couldn't do it. So we would always do that. I think there was a few years that my family hosted it, and I don't know how we fit that many people in my parents' house, but you were fitting. Man, I think it was like 35 to 40 people in just the upstairs of the house. Because the way the house is split up, it wasn't really like you can kind of have the whole house taken up. Like everybody was just upstairs. So it boggles my mind how we fit that many people up there. But we would do that on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, after everybody left, or we went back home, if we went to somebody else's house for that party, we would get to open one gift and our Christmas book. And we got a Christmas book every single year. Oh, that's something I got to do. I got to get Dave. I got to get you the picture of when we first found the first year my mom didn't buy us a Christmas book. So every year we got a Christmas book from my mom. Oh, and her heart was broken the year that my sister and I figured it out. And I wasn't the one that figured it out. My sister was. And so we would always get to open those Christmas books every Christmas Eve. And it was the first Christmas here in El Paso that my mom didn't get us Christmas books. And she had a perfectly good reason for it too. She couldn't remember what books she had already gotten us, so she didn't want to double them up. And it was just too much work to try to go through all these books to, end up trying to figure out which ones we had or didn't have and which ones she could get. But I was FaceTiming with my mom and sister. I was here in my apartment in El Paso. My sister was hanging out with my mom at my mom's house up in Portland. We're drinking Bloody Marys, and I captured the exact moment that my sister and I found out that my mom had not gotten us a Christmas book that year. And actually, I want to see if I can find it here on Facebook, and I'll see if there's a way that I can get it to Dave over here. So pardon me doing this while we're live on the air with the AfterBuzz. But then what we would do is we would basically we'd fall asleep. If you could, it's Christmas night, and then we would wake up. Oh, found it right there. Bam. All right, let me see here. Let's go ahead and send in Messenger, and you can log into your Facebook on that one. All right, so let me see here. So we would wake up the next morning. I was usually the first one up, at least up until 15 or 16 years old. At that point was when I just, I wanted to sleep. We'd wake up, we'd open up our stockings that came from Santa. We would enjoy a nice big Christmas breakfast that usually just consisted of Otto's sausages. Otto's is like a butcher shop up in Portland, and they have the best sausages on the damn planet. And we'd open up all our gifts. If we wanted to take some toys over with us, we would take some toys over with us when I was really young, it was my dad's parents' house. That's where originally the Christmases were held. And then the family got too big for their house. And then we went to my aunt and uncle's house that they had just had built. So we would go over there. And this happened every single year up until I moved away, like out of the state to Florida by the age of 25. So it was at that point that, that's when Christmas has completely changed, was when I moved to Florida. But after that morning, Christmas morning, we would hang out with my dad's side of the family, and then we would go back home, and then it would be my mom's side of the family that would come over. And that was pretty much like Christmas. And it was the exact same thing every single year. You can almost set your watch to our Christmases by what was going on. And but then it was when I moved to Florida. The family came down. They stayed in my apartment for the very first Christmas that I was down there. I remember I played Santa that year, where I stuffed the stockings. And of course I didn't have a fireplace in Florida because nobody has fireplaces in Florida. So Santa came down the air conditioning unit. So that's where the stockings were held. The stockings were held right outside the AC unit. And then, Christmases have changed, at this point, now that I got a family and stuff, Christmases have changed for us. I mean, unfortunately, last year I had to work Christmas morning. So I ended up having to, I got to hang out with the family a little bit at night. And I guess this is a Mexican thing where you end up, where you end up, like you open all your gifts Christmas Eve. Is that a thing, Producer Dave? Is that a thing?
Christmas Eve, yeah.
Christmas Eve, you don't open Christmas Day?
We do my parents' house Christmas night to early in the morning.
Okay.
And then we go home, and then we have Christmas morning with my kids.
Okay. See, that's kind of the way we're doing it. So that it's the big family, it's with the parents, Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning you go. And you do the Santa stuff, and you do those other things for that. And would it be easier if I emailed you the picture?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, I can. Let me see here. I should be able to email it to you. No, that ain't gonna work. Unless you got it figured out quicker than I do. Oh, you got it? Okay. So well, Dave works on that here a little bit. So again, this is the exact moment that my mom has admitted to us that this is the first year that my sister and I. So this was I was 35 and my sister was 38 years old in this picture, and we were so upset that this is the first year that my mom has not gotten us a Christmas book. Now those books have come in handy because something that's been great, and we've been starting it like my mom was in town last week or two weeks ago. Shit, when was she in town? I think it was 2 weeks. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago because it was over her birthday. She brought a stack of the books down. I mean, it's nowhere near all of them, but she brought some of them. And, like last night I got to read one to the kid before bed. So we can kind of incorporate that stuff. So where, there's books she can read or we can read them to her. So those ones are certainly getting repurposed and they're getting used again, if you will. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of the, the Christmas tradition that we've had. Or is it on there? Oh, you got it. Oh no, you can still see me there. So yeah, so this is it. This is the photo. That would be my sister, super upset on the far side over there, and then that's my mom admitting right there, no, we don't have Christmas books this year. So because what we did this year, this was the first year I was in El Paso. This is 2015, and like my mom sent a bunch of packages down here. I had a bunch of stuff packaged up or shipped up to Portland, and then we just, as we were FaceTiming, we opened our gifts while we were FaceTiming with each other, and it was at that moment when we realized, oh shit, we're not getting Christmas books this year. It's pretty hilarious, not gonna lie. But anyway, so that's the Christmas tradition stuff. Hopefully, we might talk about more of that on the morning show. And if you have any odd Christmas traditions that you can think of, by all means, email the show. You can email me. It's brandon.coates, Coates, at townsquaremedia.com. You can hit us up on Facebook. That might kind of push that topic on the air if we have more examples from listeners. So if you guys do have any examples, by all means, let us know. Next topic that we'll talk about here has to do with comics. We've had the big giveaway this week. We're giving away the Marvel Unlimited. It's $70 value. You have access to over 25,000 comics online with this thing. And I started reading comics on my iPad a few years ago. And man, if you don't have something like Marvel Unlimited, you will pay through the nose because it's so easy. I was reading Avengers versus the X-Men, and when you get in this, I don't think the series was completely done yet, but it was pretty far into it. And as I'm flipping through it, you get to the end of an issue and it just says, would you like to keep reading? And you're like, well, yeah, of course I want to keep reading. I need to find out what happens. So you click yes, and it's like $2 for every issue that you purchase. And it was like $100-something later where I was like, holy shit, like I need to tone it down on this thing. But with this Marvel Unlimited that you have access, it's unlimited reading. Like there's no chance that you can read every single comic in 1 year that they have available with Marvel Unlimited. So it's a pretty cool prize. I still do like the physical comics, but I'm definitely doing this Marvel Unlimited thing because there's some that you want to read, but you maybe don't necessarily need to keep the physical comic. But I do believe in supporting local comics. I do comic shops. I do believe in supporting like the local business aspect of it, like Asylum, which is right up the road from here. That's where I've gotten, my box with my issues that I get every week. Anything Star Wars, I get anything Star Wars. I'm reading East of West. I've tried to pick up on a couple others. I tried The Flash. It ended up kind of boring me a little bit. I was getting like multiple Deadpools, and it wasn't really any. It wasn't anything new. It was kind of just the same thing over and over again. It started to bore me. It was really confusing at times because there was a lot of timeline jumps in the Deadpool series. So at this point, I cut way the hell back. So it's just anything Star Wars. I'm getting one of the Batmans, Red Hood and the Outlaws. I love Red Hood and the Outlaws. If you don't know who Red Hood and the Outlaws is, it's the old Robin that ends up becoming the Red Hood. And he ends up, he's kind of a bad guy, but he's kind of not a bad guy. He's really a Batman who's willing to kill is kind of what it is. And I'm trying to think of what other comics and the new Venom one. The new Venoms are the shit. Those new Venom ones are fantastic. So I do highly recommend those. Keep listening this week. We will have more. We'll have more Marvel Unlimited tomorrow and on Friday. And I think the Friday before Christmas, we will have 3 sets of codes. Don't hold me to that completely, but I think that we will have that coming up. So we can, we'll be giving those away. So keep listening for that. Final topic of this edition of the AfterBuzz has to do with inconsiderate people and jerks. Producer Dave here had the perfect example when he was out at the grocery store on his way here. And you generally want to be a little aware of your surroundings. And if you've got a big cart full of stuff, and you look behind you and you see that somebody's 2 or 3 items, right? Then you just be like, go ahead. Like it's going to take almost no time out of your day. But if you don't do that, you're holding this person up longer than they probably need to be there. And he ran into somebody who had a big ass giant cart and didn't even acknowledge the fact like, hey, why don't you just, let your way through with these few items. And it reminded me of a story from Florida where nobody ever held a door for you in Florida. I mean, I can't say nobody, but chances were if you were walking into some place and you were right behind somebody, they were not going to hold the door for you. It was almost to the point where if they opened the door, they would almost try to let go as soon as possible to like prevent the door from being opened for you. It was like these real dick moves. And these are things that bother me because it's the smallest thing. But when you don't do it, it's a huge dick move. Like it takes almost no effort to when you open the door, just kind of go like that and hold it open for somebody. And that might make their day. For all you know, they're having a shitty day. Maybe they broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, or they just got some bad news about something, or in general, they just had a really shitty day. It's a nice thing to hold the door for somebody. And maybe, maybe that's something that'll kind of brighten their day and start to turn their day around. Fucking hold the door for somebody, in case you can't tell. It pisses me off. Which brings me to my story. When I was in Florida, I was walking into the liquor store, and there was an older gentleman coming in behind me. And as I opened the door, and he was actually pretty far back. He's probably about 10 paces behind me. And I sat there and I held the door for him. And as he walks in, he like grunts at me. Or it was something, it was like, even that just came off as rude. And I remember sitting there and I was like, and I just kind of stood back and I was like, a thank you would be nice. And he turns around, he's all fucking like angry, and he goes, "Yeah, like young kids should respect their elders." He said something like, I'm like, what the fuck, man? And I remember this was on Veterans Day, because that kind of guided how the conversation went after this. So I asked the guy flat out, as he was standing there, I'm like, "Excuse me, sir, are you a veteran?" And he was like, "No, I'm not, because if you're a veteran, I'll give you some leeway. Like, you could be a dick. Like, you may or may not have been shot. Protecting my freedom to hold the door open for you. Go right ahead. You can call me an asshole, sir. I'm perfectly fine with that." But he tells me no, and that's when I just went off on the guy. And I told him flat out, and I was like, "Okay, good, because the people who are veterans, they have given me the right to free speech to tell you to fuck off, because it's people like you who are pieces of shit that you're so angry and so bitter that when I'm holding the door for you, you don't even have the fucking common decency just to say thank you, or even just walk in silently." Like, he fucking grunted at me. And it's like, dude, there's no fucking need for that, like, whatsoever. And if that's how you're going to go, then just fucking be on your way. And at this point, there's like 5 people staring at us inside this liquor store. I walked in, I grabbed my bottle, I walked out, and then it was time where he was actually walking out at about the same time as me. So I got in front of him, and I held the door for him again. Didn't want to do it necessarily be a dick, and I didn't say anything at this point. And as he walked away, he didn't say a fucking peep, and I was like, you know what? I'll consider that a victory in the sense that at least he didn't fucking grunt at me like an animal. That's one thing that fucking pisses me off, is when people are just, they're so fucking rude, or they're so upset, like they can't even come up with like an actual word for things. They have to grunt at you about shit, and it's like, that's fucking pathetic. But anyway, that was the South Florida story about that. And I mean, and quite honestly, I ran into that so frequently. The chances are, if you were walking into a place and you're 3 steps behind somebody, they were not going to hold the door open for you. If anybody has anything that they want brought up here on this edition of the AfterBuzz, by all means, throw it into the chat. We did have an MMA talk with Isaac Nanez yesterday. Last week we did do a D&D session, a little Legends of Concordia action. I don't think our next episode of Legends of Concordia is going to be coming up until 2019. It's just going to be too difficult to get everybody together. I mean, even now, like we were minus Brandon, our Bonar Grow Rod, and so we had to have a fill-in for him. Just because trying to organize 5 different people's schedules. We've got, me, the other 3 players, and Dave. He comes out there and he donates his time and hooks us up for that as well. So Dustin in the chat says, "Dude, I'm from Oklahoma and I feel like no one opens the door here or says thank you." In El Paso, you ran into that? I don't know if I'm just as jaded because of what I went through in Florida, and maybe, the percentage is lower here. But I haven't quite run into that here in El Paso. But I mean, I could see what you're saying. If you're coming from a place like Oklahoma, if everybody holds the door open for you, and then not as many people do, I could definitely see how that would alter your perception.
It's definitely like hit or miss, because for me, it's a lot of the things that happen are on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You give someone enough room to come in off or to merge onto the road, and there's no wave, there's no acknowledgement,
Mm-hmm.
there's no thank you or anything like that. But it's and then there's some times where people do that for you, or people will wave and say thank you, or flash your lights in some way, So I definitely think it's kind of like hit or miss here.
Yeah, I mean,
it's more times where people are being considerate than.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to run into those jerks. You're going to run into the people that aren't going to give you the wave if you let them in. You're going to run into the person that's not going to hold the door for you or anything like that. Growing up in Portland, I remember growing up in Portland, everybody being super nice. Like, it was a very nice place to grow up. Everybody was genuinely happy. People would hold the door for you. They would say hi to you. They would say thank you. They'd make eye contact with you. But then when I moved back, like, that city has changed, and something's in the air, something's in the water. I don't know if it's across the United States, but it seems to pop up a lot of places where I'm at, because a lot of it had to do with these people. Like it's just the attitude in that city had changed. Now, it could be different because when I was a kid, things seemed nicer and my perception was different. And then when you grow up, it changes. Because I was gone for 8 years from Portland, and then moving back, it just seemed like everything was vastly different. It was, growing up, it was the cool kind of hippies who wanted to help people and who wanted to better the environment, but not necessarily at the expense of certain things. But then it's become to the point now to where it's people get so fucking angry about things, and it's the shitty hippies. It's the ones who suck. It's the guy who yelled at me at the fucking recycle bin at the fucking concert. Like, seriously, you think it's bad here in El Paso or wherever you may be living, in like a place like Portland, there's like 5 recycle bins. This one is for compost. This one is for plastic. This one is for paper. This one is for plastic grade 2. This one is for metal. Like, there's fucking 5 bins. So I'm at this concert. It was Blues Fest. I was working for the radio station. I ate whatever I had. It was like a paper plate, some napkins, and a plastic fork. And I walk up to the thing, and there's this old dude with like a volunteer vest on. And as I'm sitting there, I'm reading the signs to figure out where to put this stuff. And the guy's like, "What do you got there?" And I was like, "Well, this is all paper." And it's the paper plate and the napkins in my left hand. And the guy gets pissed and he goes, "Well, that's not paper. That's a plastic fork." Thanks, Captain Obvious. I fucking know that, dude. And I'm like, and you think he got super upset that I didn't know, like, it's not even the fact that he could see that I'm taking the effort to put them in the right bin. It's that I didn't already fucking know where they go. Pissed him off. And I wanted to kick this old fucker down the hill. This son of a bitch was like 65 years old and he was just a cranky son of a bitch. That's going to be me in fucking 20 years. 30 years. Fuck, 30 years. God damn it, I'm not that old. But anyway, but that's what pissed me off. And I just wanted to go to that guy. Like, and I kept my mouth shut this time because I'm working for the radio station. And when you're out and about, and I kind of got to do it now being recognized in El Paso and stuff, is that you do kind of need to bite your lip more, because no matter where you go, you are kind of representing the radio station, you're representing the show, and don't be a dick, really is what it is. But that doesn't mean you can't speak your mind, but it pisses me off that this guy was so upset that I didn't already know where these things need to go. And I just want to be like, dude, you're the guy that makes people not want to recycle. Like, you're the one that makes it too difficult. You're the one that makes things so fucking hard that people are like, I don't want to do it. Like, it's not worth it. Like, the next generation can fucking fend for themselves because this old asshole needs to beat people up to be like, oh, like, it needs to go in this bin. Well, you know what? I'm going to take the plastic fork. I'm going to throw it in the paper bin. Fucking dig it out of there yourself, you fucking jackass. Like, those people just irritate the ever-living crap out of me. But anyway, so that's kind of how we kind of sidetracked on that story. But yeah, it's just, it just kind of depends on where you're at in the country. Like, there's some things that people consider nice, and there's some things that people consider not so nice. Like, something I'm learning, I guess, I don't know if it's necessarily the Mexican culture, but my wife and I were talking about it and talking about being rude. But there's no way that it translates per se. Like, that's not, like, it doesn't, like, there's no way to say it nicely. There's no way, hey, like, don't be rude, man. Like, in English, like, I could say that to somebody, but I guess if you're translating it to Spanish, it could, like, you come off as a dick by calling them rude, or like, it magnifies the situation even more, which I found odd. So I'm trying, I'll be damned. I'm going to be the white guy, and I'm going to find a way to call people rude without being rude, I guess, is what my goal is going to be. And I'm going to fail miserably, but it's going to be fucking hilarious. But anyway, so we'll wrap up this edition of the AfterBuzz. A big thank you to producer Dave for hooking up all the stuff. All that stuff you saw over here on the left-hand side, the Christmas stuff, that's Dave. Like, he's getting here early to do all that cool stuff for us. So we're hoping for more of that stuff. Eventually we'll get a microphone over there. I don't know when the hell that's going to happen. But we're working on as much as we possibly can. So on that note, be listening this week. We got the Marvel Unlimited giveaways, and we got about another week and a half until Christmas. So get your shopping done, fellas and ladies, and get everything that you can, and get everything for all the people that you can as well, and enjoy the damn season too. Like, that's something that gets completely lost, is people get so wrapped up in, I got to decorate, I got to buy the gifts, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. They miss the fun of the whole point, like, of the season. The point of it is to spend time with your family, watch some Christmas movies, get a good laugh, and just enjoy being around the people that you love. And I don't think enough people spend the time to do that. Like, they don't stop for even let's say 20 minutes, an episode, one Christmas special, The Grinch, or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or something like that. And then we're getting to the point now where we have to complain about all that stuff. Oh, Rudolph, it promotes bullying. Baby, it's cold outside. It's rape culture. Like, if you don't want to listen to it, then don't fucking listen to it. But don't ruin other people's fun. Just sit back and enjoy it. Have a good time, and just fucking relax. Like, enjoy this season. Right, producer Dave? If you don't enjoy the season, I'm going to be really upset. So just shut up and have fun. But on that note, we'll see you guys next week, and then also bright and early tomorrow morning. Peace out.